Welcome back to DevMarcon, the first developer marketing summit from the Product Marketing Alliance. I hope you're enjoying the content so far. I want to thank you all for joining us and send out an extra special thank you to all our sponsors, partners, and participants who together have made this event possible. Their sessions are bursting with insights to help you level up. But remember, the learning doesn't stop here. If you haven't already, you can become a PMA member and benefit from unlimited access to all today's content, along with a whole host of other exclusive content and tools. Or simply upgrade to an Access All Areas pass to catch up with all session recordings on demand. And remember, have your questions at the ready. Simply post them in the comments section and get awesome advice from our experts. We've got another awesome session lined up for you now, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the talk.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Fireside Chat on setting up your developer marketing team for success. My name is Zenny and I'm your moderator of this talk. I have been working in developer marketing for over 7 years now. I have started my career at Apple. I work for the Worldwide Developer Relations team, where I work very closely with developers around the world on their mobile apps. Then I joined Baidu USA at their autonomous driving department as their first developer marketer to help them to grow a global developer community for their self-driving open source projects. My last gig was serving as the director of marketing and community at dgraph Labs, where I led a team of 7 to increase the adoption of the most advanced open source graph database. And today we have the pleasure to host Mike Stowe, the director of developer marketing at RingCentral. Before we dive into the topic, Mike, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I can't promise I'll be able to do as nice of an introduction. That was tremendous. Again, my name is Mike Stowe. I'm the director of developer marketing at RingCentral. And essentially that means my role is to reach developers and make sure that, one, they're aware of RingCentral's technologies. A lot of people, when they hear about telephones and voice communication, they're thinking of the old movies where you went to the bar, the salon, you got on the phone, you're like, hello, can you hear me now? Or worse, they're thinking about the experience of having to be in their car or on hold for 60 minutes trying to get hold of somebody to fix a simple problem. And so really trying to help developers understand that there's a better way to communicate. And now with APIs and cloud technology, we can truly revolutionize the way that people do communicate through cloud providers such as RingCentral. Before having the privilege of building the program at RingCentral, and by the way, that's twofold, because my other responsibility is taking the feedback from the developers, going back to RingCentral and helping RingCentral improve its offering and better create a community and support our incredible developers out there. But before RingCentral, I had the privilege of starting the developer advocacy program at Constant Contact, starting the developer relations and marketing program at MuleSoft with 2 very good friends of mine, and then going to a stealth startup called Tigera and going through that stealth startup phase to becoming the de facto standard for container security for networking, utilized by small companies like AWS, Microsoft Azure, IBM Cloud, and of course Google GKE. And like I said, now at RingCentral, trying to transform the way that we communicate.
Awesome. So what does the developer marketing function as RingCentral look like? Like, has a function be there from the start? Is it a new initiative? And which team do you sit within?
So I'm gonna get myself in trouble with my coworkers because, and I'm gonna preface this by saying that they're all super brilliant, incredibly talented people, and they were thinking ahead of their time. And hopefully they don't get too mad at me for what I'm gonna say next. At RingCentral, we fell into kind of a trap that a lot of companies fall into, which is what I call the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And so the team put together a tremendous platform, a tremendous API with numerous capabilities, but they didn't have a strong marketing mechanism for it. And so what that meant is we had all these capabilities and we ran into 2 issues. 1, our customers didn't know that we had the API, and 2, they didn't really have a vision for how to use the API because, again, they're thinking of that telephone experience that most of us can relate to. So I was actually the first developer marketing hire. And it was kind of interesting because with RingCentral, the company knew that we needed to market to developers and be engaged with the developer audience. But I think we fell into the challenge that a lot of companies have, which is, what's that mean? And so I was actually hired into the product marketing org, as here we are in the Product Marketing Alliance and DevMarcon, to run the developer marketing function. And the initial thought was that was going to be GTM launches and strategy and creating data sheets for the different APIs. And that was going to be the approach we took. We had to take a different approach because traditional marketing doesn't necessarily work on developers the same way it would work onto a B2B or B2C, in that developers aren't going to look at a data sheet. They're looking at your API documentation. And so you have to remember, you have two different distinct audiences. You have non-technical decision makers who typically write the check. I wish developers wrote the checks, because then my life would be a million times easier. But the developers who have to implement it. And you really take a twofold approach between top of funnel, reaching the non-technical decision maker, and bottom of the funnel to talk to that developer, get them involved, get them excited, so that when that technology is introduced, or they start talking about the technology, they can say, yes, I love RingCentral. I've seen their APIs. I play with them. They're the company to go with. And number two, that they're successful, because if you're selling a subscription service or a SaaS service, your real revenue isn't from the acquisition, of course, which we all know is a loss leader, is from the renewal and their continued success with the company. And so that's what we've done at RingCentral, is try to build a developer marketing org that focuses on both those audiences, and then takes a balanced approach in terms of using a 3 core model of evangelism, being out at developer events, communicating with developers, being where they're at, with the pandemic that's changed to virtual events, but then also education. And education isn't talking about who we are, it's helping them become subject matter experts in their field and becoming influencers themselves. And finally, community, giving them a safe place where they can communicate, learn, and grow, and also being active in the communities that they're active in, such as GitHub, Stack Overflow, and again, the local meetups that are being run and local community conferences that are being run. We want to support those and show that it's not just about us, we care about them and want them to be successful.
That you actually mentioned a really good point, because I think RingCentral made a very strategic move where not only have the marketing, we're market to the business leader, to who, like you said, write the checks, but also, target to the bottom of the funnel, which are developers who are using those APIs every single day. And then when it's time for renewal, I'm sure, the internal stakeholder will ask the developer, hey, how's the RingCentral API looks like? If they're championing for the product, I'm sure the renewal will be much, much easier than you go to business leader later and say, I never used the API, I don't know what it is. And then, the new will probably will go out of the window. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience. And you mentioned something very interesting. I want to, drill down a little bit, because you say you initially hired it into the product marketing function. So how did that transition that happen, that where, did you convince the company, say, hey, developer marketing needs its own department? Like how did that work?
Yeah, so it's interesting because developer marketing still rolls into the PMM org at RingCentral. And there's always a big question about developer relations, developer marketing. Where does it belong in a company? And you're going to hear a lot of opinions. Some people say it belongs in product. Some people say it belongs in engineering. Some believe it should be its own department altogether, or marketing. Thankfully, not a lot of people say sales, and that's not a rip on sales. It's just that if we're purely lead focused, we're not building relationships. And like I say, there's a reason why we call it developer relations and not developer leads. But to answer your question, it was really coming in. And one of the first things I like to do when building out a program is understand where we currently at in the community, and how mature are we as a company and as a program. And that means looking, you can go to all the MBA aspects of, do we have a 2x2 matrix, or do we do a SWOT, or but looking at how do we succeed. And then it took a lot of convincing, and to the credit of my colleagues, a lot of trust, because basically going in and saying, okay, this is what you're hired to do, is to create data sheets for all the different endpoints, and then coming back and saying, I understand that this is what traditional PMM does, and I'm in a PMM org, but we can't have 500 data sheets, to talk about the 500 different endpoints. And also we have to change the way that we market slightly to reach both these audiences. And so it becomes a hybrid model of how do we meet both of those. And it also means that once you put together a hypothesis, you put together a strategy, having a way to prove that strategy. And that's where I think we've been successful, is that we put together a very high level strategy, but then we also add things like having the developer funnel, which is basically your standard marketing funnel, where we can actually pinpoint where are we successful, where are we failing in that funnel. And then my team hates me because I'm all about data. And so beyond that, we have like 143 different data points that my team records that we can look at. If we find an issue with awareness, we can look at the different tactics we're taking under awareness and identify what's working, what's not. But being able to go back to the executive team and say, thank you for the trust. Here's the hypothesis. Here's the results. And thankfully, the results have been, for the most part, very, very good and have solidified the approach we're taking.
Oh, wow. That's good to hear. So you mentioned about the developer relations team earlier in your comment. So, for any successful developer focused company, you cannot do it without a DevRel team. So what is the differences between developer marketing team versus DevRel team? Like, how does this two team work together? Can tell us a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I got to preface this because I'm, shameless plug, I'm working on a book for developer evangelism. And one of the things that I say in the book is just because one person calls something developer marketing or developer relations doesn't mean the next place calls it the same thing. Everyone has different definitions of what that means. So when I share what we're doing at Ring Central, take that with a grain of salt, because just because that's the way we're doing it doesn't mean that that's the way it's being done everywhere. For us, we've really divided the team where the product aspects, such as developer documentation or technical documentation, SDK management, and then more of the support elements for developers roll into our product team. And then in terms of the marketing side, we're more focused on, again, the evangelism aspect, building a vibrant community, and driving the thought leadership education in tandem or partnership with the PM team, where because we have a smaller team, we rely on them heavily for content creation. So at the end of the day, we work very well together. But what it comes down to is, if you have a single umbrella, that makes life very, very easy because you have the same goals coming from a higher level. If you have separate umbrellas where each team has separate goals and KPIs, then it's very, very important to one, stay in constant, pick up my old employer, constant contact, in sync with each other, make sure that you have shared KPIs, shared goals, you're both moving to the same beat of the drum, and that you're also staying, in touch through weekly stand-ups, weekly meetings, so that we know what the product team is doing, not just on the kind of developer relations side, but also in terms of new APIs and GTM that we need to run for those APIs. And they likewise understand what we're doing, and they keep us honest so that we're doing what's best for the community.
Nice. So you mentioned about the, KPIs, like if it's under same umbrella, you share the same KPIs, but if you're under separate, you might have, some overlap, but some not. So for the next question, I want to know, what are some key metrics or KPIs that you measure for your team to, show that you're achieve the goal?
Absolutely. And the way I look at KPIs is multifaceted or multi-level. And again, I take a step back, because what works for one company doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And again, that's one of the biggest challenges we have in developer relations and developer marketing is we look at other people's metrics and say, okay, how do I measure API calls, or how do I measure MAU or monthly active users? For me, it starts at the very top. And so I like looking at what are the company objectives. And a lot of companies, they'll put out 3 objectives where they say, here are the top 3 things are the priority for the company, and every organization or department within the company then rolls into those 3 objectives. Then you go further down the level, and because we report on marketing, we have marketing objectives, and so we're the top 3 marketing objectives or North Stars for our marketing organization that we need to hit, and then it rolls into platform. And with our platform team, we have both the ISV side, so working with biz dev and building out third-party integrations that our customers can use, and then we have the individual customers that are building their own integrations. So there we have also shared goals that roll in. That's where I talk about kind of product team and marketing team working together. That's where we start to combine on those goals, and then we go into the developer goals, which roll into those goals. So everything's kind of a multi-tier, because at the end of the day, we have to prove our value to the company and what we're doing. The way we measure our KPIs at Ring Central is we have a marketing funnel, and I'm actually gonna give credit to Indy, because Indy kind of changed this Indy Sen, who worked for me at MuleSoft, he kind of changed this funnel, and it's been such a great job that I've utilized it ever since. And that is, we look at awareness, interest, consideration, adoption, and then advocacy. So if you think of the standard marketing or the standard ADA funnel, we're adding that last stage of advocacy, because it's really important for that word of mouth and developer community, and for a great experience for developers. Awareness, we look at things like website traffic. Are people coming to our website? Are they hearing about us? We look at share of voice. We actually use a tool, it's called Weaver.ai. They do a great job allowing us to get a pulse on the industry. So we can actually look at, are developers talking about Ring Central? Are they talking about our competitors? Who are the influencers in the space, and dig into that. We can do after awareness, of course, is interest. Are they actually navigating the site? Are they looking at documentation? Consideration, have they created a POC app or a sandbox app to start trying out our capabilities? And then, of course, we get into adoption. Have they actually graduated an app, or are they actually using it? And this, again, because we focus on both paying customers and third-party providers or partners. That could be a paid customer, or it could be an ISV that's built an app for our customers to utilize. And then finally, advocacy. We like to look at how many people in our advocacy program or ambassador program are engaged. And then we actually use a content value for what's the value of the content they're providing versus if we had to outsource that ourselves. So if someone writes a blog, we assign a dollar value to that. And then we try to reward them obviously for their work. But that way we can go back to the company and say, not only do we have 1,000 engaged advocates, but they've created X amount of content that we've had to pay for otherwise to show the value. And that's the other thing that is really important to us, is as we look at it, looking at the metrics, again, help us gauge where in the funnel, but those top level KPIs help us justify our existence to the business in terms of how are we moving the needle, how are we driving revenue? And so that may be things such as customer satisfaction. Are customers more satisfied because they have these integrations or not? That could be a total lifetime value. Are customers staying longer because they've utilized integration or built their own integration? And to your point, you mentioned earlier, it's bad if a developer says, I never used the API. It's even worse if they said I did and it's terrible and I can't build anything with it. So, I mean, that's a really important note. And of course, the last one is revenue. What type of revenue are we driving, either direct or indirect, again, to show value to the company? Because a lot of times we look at developer marketing, developer relations as a cost center. And I think anytime you have developer relations, developer marketing, it becomes an interesting contrast, because in product, you have a cost center, you're building the product, you're getting out there, and it's up to marketing and sales to drive the revenue. In marketing, you have a ratio where every dollar you spend has to bring in X amount of dollars. And so it's a very different mindset, and it's balancing that. With all that said, it's really important to say that we're not tied to pipe. We're not a lead machine. In fact, I just was talking to one of our sales reps. I sent him, we had an individual reach out, we sent him a lead. He goes, are you sure this is for us? Like, I don't recall a director of developer marketing ever sent me a lead before. And it's like, we get these leads come in, and they tend to be very strong deals because of the opportunities, because of the conversations we're having, but that's not our goal. Our goal is really to drive that awareness, drive that vision, and help with the adoption of people utilizing the platform so that they can take really the full power of the platform. And ultimately, my goal, and this gets away from the question, I'm rambling a bit, so I apologize, is that when our competitor goes to our customer and says, you're paying, this much money for 1,000 phone seats, we can save you $10 per month per phone seat. And so they're going, okay, let's see, that's $10,000 times 12 months, that's $120,000. That's a great deal. What I want the customer saying is, great, that's fantastic. I love that you can save me $120,000. I really appreciate that. But because of RingCentral's platform and capabilities, I'm actually making $1 million more. So they, it's again a better experience for them, and it's not I have to stay with them, or it's a toggle between phone companies, because honestly, nobody likes their phone company. That's why I don't want to be a phone company. I'll be a communications partner. But again, that company that's helping them increase their revenue and be successful, and be a thought leader and forward thinking in the space.
Nice. So, the interesting thing is, I recently had a conversation with the CEO of Timescale DB. So obviously they're sold to developers as well. So one of the analogy he used actually stuck with me. He's saying normally how people describe the sales team, they're like the hunter, right? They go out there, hunt for the deals. But then when it comes to developer audiences, they actually call themselves the farmer, because farmer is the one who's nurturing the relationship. And it sounds, when I hear your story, it sounds just like what your team is actually doing. So that's really great. You earlier mentioned about you're very data driven, tracks everything. So is there any programs, initiative, or project that you have done that has, being very successful in driving adoptions among developers?
So this is gonna sound like a cop out, I guess, but the most successful thing that we've done was taking a look at our messaging. And the reason for that is, when I joined, again, the team did a great job, and this is not comment on them, but they did not have somebody looking at it from a developer marketing perspective. And so we had what we thought developers wanted to hear, not what developers are actually looking for. And when you came to our developer site, you got very ambiguous communication messages like improve your workflows.
Mm.
That's great. Everyone wants to improve their workflow, but you're not telling me how I can improve my workflow. You're not telling me what you do as a company, and you're not giving me the tools immediately to be successful with that. And so we immediately changed it to revolutionize communications, because we want them to know we're a communications company. The subline there, or the subheader then, is APIs for voice, SMS, team messaging, meetings, and fax. We went away from a very ambiguous a kind of hypothetical construct of what you could do to more of a concrete, here's the solutions we have, and now here's what you can do with those solutions. And those are things we're still working on improving, is really defining now, okay, let's get away from, again, these ambiguous case studies of, you can add voice to your CRM, which is great, to you can improve your business efficiency and improve sales or customer satisfaction this much, have tangible numbers by doing these things and tangible outcomes for them, with the idea that hopefully we'll get the wheels turning, because honestly, our customers are far more imaginative, creative, and innovative than I could ever be, and they've done some amazing things. That's been the most important thing we've done so far. The second program that gets overlooked, and one of the models that I've created to try to kind of look at how we go approach developer marketing, developer relations, is the developer hierarchy of needs. And it's kind of based on Maslow's hierarchy, if you will, but the idea is that developers have basic needs for them to use your product and be successful. And the first one I call basic enablement, which is your API has to work and you have to have documentation for it. And the documentation has to be good. If I can't figure out the documentation, I'm not going to be successful. And so that was the second component, was looking at, are people being successful with the documentation? Because I can go, invest in field marketing and go to community events and developer events. But if we have a bad experience, not only are we wasting our money, but we're actually putting that bad experience, into the community's mind, which is the last thing you want to do. So again, understand where you're at maturity-wise as a program. So we hired a technical writer to take a look at our documentation, completely revamp it, and start focusing on, time to first app. How do we improve that? And that was a joint effort between marketing and PM, where PM really led the technical side, but we led a lot of the user testing, a lot of the studies, and a lot of feedback we were receiving from early conversations we'd had with developers in the community. The third, probably most beneficial program we've done, which is actually the second tier of the hierarchy, is our community initiatives. I might get myself in trouble here again, but I'm also very grateful, because I went into Ring Central. We had 300 followers on our Twitter handle, and most of those followers were not developers, and so we had to look and say, okay, wait a second, what went wrong here? We started investing in communicating with our developers, so having a developer newsletter, having regular tweets, and recognizing what the developers were doing via Twitter. We want to showcase what they're doing. It shouldn't be all about us. It needs to be symbiotic for them. And the thing I love about this, and so I'm gonna get myself in trouble, is we grew that very quickly from 300, which we basically got rid of most of the followers, to over 3,000. And I remember, our CMO at the time going, "Look what the team did. They grew to 3,000." I'm like, no, you haven't seen anything yet. We're just getting started. Don't keep the bar. We got to raise the bar a little bit higher than 3,000 followers. As are we a successful program? And so, but building out those programs, we hired a community manager to come in and help grow that. And she's been tremendously successful with Twitter, and she took my 3,000 to 50,000. So we got the bar a little bit higher. Then the last component, which has been very successful for us, has been kind of the education aspect. So it's kind of funny, because we look at the 3-core model. To me, those are the first 3 tiers of that hierarchy of needs, giving them a safe place to communicate. So improving our forum, making sure we gave them a forum that was easily searched, they could respond to, they could engage with. We actually switched solutions to meet their needs for that. And that's something that I think gets overlooked. And again, this is a joint initiative, but there's a lot of forums out there that are designed for consumers. They're designed to make it very easy for the consumer to ask a question and get answer from the customer support team or the customer experience team. But those forums typically aren't focused on things like code. And as a developer, I'm asking code questions. If I can't put my code in, it's not formatted, not highlighted, not readable, the forum's not doing me any good. And so that was another initiative that we undertook to build a community and be where they're at, and then start providing education where, again, they could learn. And we start taking a thought leadership perspective versus us talking about ourselves, talking about additional content. When you look at companies that do this, by the way, again, we go back to 3-core model, everyone likes to do evangelism, and evangelism is absolutely important. I'm not going to say anything otherwise, but we look at the most successful companies that are known by developers, and everybody thinks Twilio. Twilio is actually really known for their evangelism efforts, but Twilio has struggled with developer loyalty and community because you get companies like Vonage. And so you'd be an event and somebody walk up to Vonage, which was formerly Nexmo, and they go, "What do you do?" "Oh, we do the same thing as Twilio, but we're cheaper." "Oh, that's great. Let me give you guys a try." Versus, "Yeah, hey, but I know Rob, and Rob's such a great guy. Like I can't imagine, like, if something goes wrong, I can give Rob a call and he'll take care of it." And that's the difference between evangelism and community. Community is building that network of trust, where it's not just I use your product; it's I'm part of the company. And one of the big things with community is, again, it's not about you, it's not your community, it's their community that you have to be a part of as a company. But the community aspect, and the best examples of community is going to be Stack Overflow and GitHub. These are teams that did not have large evangelism efforts. They did not have large developer marketing teams, but because they fostered a community, developers went to them. And the other one is education, and education tends to have tremendous dividends. One, because of SEO and awareness. But if you look at companies that have done that correctly, DigitalOcean, which just IPO'd, and congratulations to the DO team, they're very focused on education, where if you search, how do I remove a user from my Linux server, one of the first results you're going to find is DigitalOcean, because they have so many tutorials. And not having a strong evangelism effort. I think I saw DigitalOcean at one event, maybe 2 events over 10 years. Not having a strong community presence. They focused a lot of their effort on creating the education. They become the de facto standard for learning about Linux, learning education. It's my go-to if I need to find an answer. And I'm also a DigitalOcean customer because of the trust I've established with them. So when we look at that, what those different initiatives and what moves the needle, evangelism is key. We should never get rid of evangelism. That's why it's part of the 3-core model, and correct Rob's factor on that. But again, education and community tend to move the needle further. And those are the initiatives that we've seen that have really moved the needle for us.
So for the audience out there, listen to this talk. I just want to say, Mike essentially just spilled out his secret tea. The reason why I'm saying that is every single initiative that you just mentioned actually aligned exactly with my experience when I was at DGRAPH, because we did our messaging, we revamped our docs experience, our docs traffic 4 times in a time period of a 12 month. We also focus on education. So everything you just said, for all the audience out there, if you want to do developer marketing, definitely take notes on this part.
Exception of our competitors.
Okay, I think, we're come up to the time. We have one last question for you before we conclude the talk. What is one nugget of advice you would like to leave with the audience?
The one nugget of advice is that anytime you do developer relations and developer marketing, is to keep 3 principles in mind. And there was recently, I realize I'm getting old in the industry, because I say recently, I realized it was like 6 years ago now. There was a study about what's the most important thing in developer relations, developer marketing. And the number 1 answer was empathy. And that's understanding who your audience is. Your job is not to sell to developers. Your job is not to get leads from developers. Your job is to build a relationship. One of the most powerful things I learned, which was from Gail Goodman at Constant Contact, is that we trust strangers more than we trust the companies we work with. And if you think about it, if you go to a restaurant, you look at a menu item and it looks really, really good. You ask the waiter or waitress, "Is this delicious?" They, "Oh, it's our best item on the menu." And then you look on Yelp and someone says, "I had it, it was terrible." You don't order it. It was terrible. Like you go somewhere else. That's the developer community in a nutshell, because developers talk to each other. We always like to think of developers as introverts. Developers are very highly social individuals who are communicating, collaborating, working together. And if you don't speak with empathy, if you're not thinking about their needs, if you're trying to put your company first, they know, to quote Liam Neeson, I have a set of skills. They know what their capabilities are, and they know where to invest their time. The second is integrity. With integrity, again, one of the coolest experiences I had, and this was at MuleSoft. Most time I keep my sales team at arm's length away from our developers. At MuleSoft, our sales team was allowed to not just talk to developers, we invite them to our developer events because they said, I want to get to meet the developers. I want to learn with them. They didn't try to pretend they were developers. They didn't try to pretend they understood the tech. They just wanted to communicate, network with them, and they were honest. And that also means being honest about the company's shortfalls. One of the craziest things, and I got myself in trouble for when I was at Constant Contact, is we had I'll call him a prospect come up. And he asked me, I have a small nonprofit. I have 10 board members. I send a monthly newsletter to those 10 board members, and I'm using MailChimp. Why should I switch to Constant Contact? I said, you shouldn't. And the marketing person nearly killed me, by the way. But like, you shouldn't. Like, look, you're a small nonprofit. You're using MailChimp, which is free, and you're sending 10 emails. Like, this is not the use case for Constant Contact. Now, if you want to start reaching to your users, or you want to start reaching on donation campaigns, or you want help with marketing and you want to start growing that list, that's where we're going to help you, because we're going to have the different tools to help you with that. And you get free marketing support. You can call us up and ask us marketing questions, and we're going to help. But if you're not doing that, don't pay the $30 a month. Like, do it for free. And again, the marketing person nearly strangled me. And I'm pretty sure I saw an email go out about that, about why are we investing in this program? They're telling people to use our competitors. But the next morning I received an email from the individual, and he said, I'm using Constant Contact. I just signed up for an account. He goes, I know I don't need it. I know I don't have to spend the money, but I appreciate the integrity of the company, and you're the type of company I want to partner with. And the last one that I threw out there is authenticity. Being yourself, again, not just acting with integrity and being honest with them about your product shortfalls or why one product might be better than the other, and then to make an informed decision. Obviously, we put a marketing spin on it, but we need, I'd rather have somebody use our competitor because we're not there yet and have a bad experience and come to us for a good experience because they trust us, than come to us and have us not meet their needs and go, man, Mike just completely lied to me. But then authenticity, be yourself. Be real with the community. Don't try to pretend to be someone you're not. Don't try to, speak technical jargon if you don't speak technical jargon. One question is, do I have to be technical being developer marketing, developer relations? No, there's a lot of people who are not, technical individuals. My community manager is not a technical person. She's not going to tell you what's wrong with your code, but she's authentic. She's empathetic. She acts with integrity, and she acts with creativity. So those would be the three things I'd say. Again, empathy, integrity, and authenticity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the informative talk. And that concludes everything. And thank you everyone for joining. And one last thing. So if folks wanted to connect with you on the internet, how do they find you?
If they're not tired of listening to me talk already, several ways to connect. Feel free. I have a website at mikestowe.com. Yes, I'm a little bit vain, but my email is even worse. It's me@mikestowe.com. That's me@mikestowe.com. And of course, I'm on Twitter at Mike G as in George Stowe. So Mike G Stowe on Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And hopefully we will see you soon and enjoy the rest of their conference.
And thank you, Zenny. I appreciate being here.